Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, here we go. It is Tuesday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. We're just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is, holy cow, let me double check here. Episode 196 of Gridiron Grinder. And for tonight, we're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium like we always do. Then we're going to do a very quick, I would presume, recap of the past week since we just did the show the other day. After that, we're going to give you guys our fantasy football top 10 rankings review. So basically, we're going to look at all the quarterbacks, all the running backs, wide receivers, the top 10 list on Yahoo, kind of give you our feedback about maybe who we think's a little overrated, underrated, all that kind of fun stuff. And then last but not least, we'll close it off with our question of the week, which I will be winging tonight, James, just to give you a heads up, but it'll probably have something to do with the top 10 rankings. And so we'll figure that out as we go. But yeah, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, man?
It's going good. Early week. Both of us
Yeah.
have shit going on the rest of the week, so
Oh,
good to
yeah.
get it in before get it in. So got to keep that fan base of 5 people going.
Yeah. Hey, they want the content every week. You got to pump it out, or that five goes down to two, James. And I mean, at that point, it's just you and me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it'd go down to 3 because it'd be you, me, and my wife. So
yeah, yeah. Thank God Tori's still watching. So,
yeah,
uh,
she'll play it for the kids, and they'll look at it and they'll say, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy."
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just glad we were able to get a show this week because yeah, we were talking about it. There's a lot going on, right? But like for me, I'm sure I told you this before, but we call it birthday season.
Hmm.
So we just started last week, the first of six birthdays within a 3 week span. And then, on top of that, our kids have uh, birthdays that their friends have invited them to. So, I mean, it's just like nonstop these couple weeks, just something going on. But it's cool. We were able to squeeze it in, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's why you got to tell your kids you're not allowed to have any friends.
Oh, jeez. That would just be mean, James.
Yeah, no, it would be mean.
All right. Yeah, whenever you're ready, man, why don't you do some Name That Stadium for us?
All right, as you can see, traveling around different stadiums, host NFL games, tried to tie it in. I'm going to be honest, I can't remember why the fuck I chose the stadium I did last week. But first person guesses right. Hell, if you can even put in the reason why I chose that stadium, and not even the stadium, but you chose it because X, like we'll take that at this point. Um, Give you an extra special shout out, bookmark it, play it back to all your friends. Which, let's be honest, it's just Ryan and myself, so it's
Yes.
not like we need to see it over and over again.
Hey, we're pretty
But
cool, though.
yeah, last week I was in Tennessee, and I can't remember. I swear, I think it was like something with because we were doing fantasy sleepers last week, and I saw a few
Yeah.
sleepers with um Tennessee,
Yeah, the
but
running back's one of them.
yeah,
Um, I don't know. I wouldn't bet on Levis breaking out, but you never know. Crazier things have happened.
that's what it was. Everything I was reading was saying Levis was this big time fantasy sleeper this year, and he was like the biggest sleeper, and it's like, I can see a little bit of it, but he's got to show something. But I think that's why I chose it because all the hype about Levis being like the biggest fantasy QB sleeper this year. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, I liked Levis coming out of college. And he did have that one sweet game where he had like four touchdowns last year. But
Hmm.
other than that, man, it was pretty lackluster. And that's kind of what you expect out of a rookie, right? But
Yeah.
um, I think for a guy that going into this year is like the named starter, planned being the starter, we were hoping to maybe see a little bit more out of him last year to kind of earn it. But that's okay. I think the tools are there. It's just about the development, and we'll find out soon.
Yeah, but not soon. And like I just saw this article like which QBs will exceed expert expectations, and it's on CBS Sports, and I swear I saw a picture of Levis, but they don't pick him as either side. So
Okay.
I thought it was going to tie in, but I think interesting that they have Aaron Rodgers both exceeding expectations and underperforming this year.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's because Rodgers is a love him, hate him guy. Some people are like, Rodgers. And then some people are like, Rodgers.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I mean,
yeah.
super talented, but I could deal without the drama that he brings around with him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
If he was on the Lions, now it'd be a different story. I'd fucking love his ass.
Hey, man, I'm happy with Goff.
Well,
Let's let him
I'm
keep doing
talking
his
about,
thing.
before
Years
he went to the
past.
Jets, years past, before we had Goff, before, when we had like
Sure.
some of these other QBs like Joey Harrington and whoever the fuck else started for the Lions in the early 2000s.
John Kitna,
Yeah, Kitna.
fucking Mike McMahon, um, man, Sean Hill.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more. Obviously, Stafford, came in
Yeah.
and sort of broke that streak for a while, but yeah. All right, well, hey, man, how about we do a little news of the week?
All right, I'm down.
So I think you got a little jump start on me, man. Do you want to tell me what you've seen so far while I'm skimming here?
Well, the first thing I saw was the Jaguars signed Tyson Campbell, cornerback, to a $76.5 million contract extension, um, with 53.4 guaranteed. I'm looking for how many years of this, but it doesn't say years. 19.1 per year. So what is
4?
that? What did I say? 76.5 divided by
Yeah, it's got to be
19.1.
4 years, man.
Yeah, 4 years. 4-year extension, which, I mean, hey, good for him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, then I saw Christian Darrisaw, the tackle for the Vikings. He got a big one, 4 years, 113 million,
Mhm.
77 million guaranteed. Good for him.
And then, what's his name in Cleveland? Mark Cooper got a $5 million raise. Um, the guarantee, he restructured his contract, um, gave him a $5 million raise. I'm looking for other terms on it, but so it reworked his deal, which delivered half of his guaranteed salary into a signing bonus.
Okay.
He was entering the final year of a $100 million deal. So it guaranteed the 20 million.
Yeah, and he's kind of a strange one, right? Because he's on his third team, and these quarterbacks, these wide receivers that are like generally thought of as a wide receiver one, typically don't bounce around like this. And
Yeah,
so, it makes me wonder, man, does this guy just like ruffle feathers with the coaches or what is going on that he keeps getting, pushed off to different places?
yeah, and I'm gonna re, re, revise what I said. It's the $5 million raise was $5 million of what's termed earnable incentives. So
Okay.
it seems to me like it's probably fairly easy for him to earn those incentives in the deal, but I don't see what the incentives are.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, then it looks like Brandon Ayuk has reported to training camp with the 49ers despite making the trade request. And so, you know, I like that. I like when guys do that. It's hey, you want out, but you're gonna practice and make the best of it. And yeah, I know there's risk of getting hurt and stuff like that, but I just think that that's like the right thing to do. If you're a
Yeah.
professional football player. So
Well, a lot of it has to do with the fines that are in place um, if
if
you
you
hold
hold out,
out.
yeah,
So that's why these players are holding in. Like Jordan Love is reported to
just
training
not
camp, but
practicing.
he's not practicing
Yeah, that's
until
weird. It seems like you
yeah,
would get penalized for that, right? But it's a technicality, is what it is, James.
yeah, exactly. Um, it's it's a big technicality.
Yeah, yeah, and I heard the Jordan Love thing could be any day now. I don't know. That's in the fluff piece part until we get something actually done, I guess.
Yeah, and everything I'm reading on that, and it doesn't make sense to me, but there's rumors that it's going to make him the highest paid quarterback, and he's not worth it yet. He hasn't shown enough. He had one good fucking year.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just the way this stuff works, right? The
yeah,
guy
but
to sign the most current deal gets the biggest deal.
yeah, but like the Trevor Lawrence deal, like Trevor Lawrence in pros, let's be honest, he's been middle of the road quarterback
Yeah.
statistic wise, winning wise, and he got a huge deal. So all you have to do is be middle of the road, and
Yep.
apparently these teams think you're worth the money, not worth trying to go find somebody else.
Yeah. I don't know,
Right?
man. It's tough. It's a lot of money. Oh,
Staff,
I'm looking at this
Stafford
and
reworked his deal with the Rams. Um, uh, he added more guaranteed money to his deal. I'm looking for it. I just saw this. Uh, I'm not. It's not saying. So he had 3 more seasons, but 31 million remaining on the guaranteed salary, and this year none over the next two. So I'm scanning it. Like I just saw this. It doesn't say any of the terms. Rams agreed to a revised
gotcha.
contract. Um, yeah, it doesn't say how much he added. I'm not seeing anything. So must have guaranteed after this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing terms or anything on it. So
Yeah, no biggie. Well, I did see the NFL starting to release the top 100 list, which I
mhm.
know, around this time last year we like to do our top 100 sort of critique, but I don't know. We'll see. I think we're going to be cutting it close as we do our NFC, AFC divisional outlooks here these next couple weeks. But maybe there'll be one week in there before the season where we can squeeze it in, 'cause that's always a fun one to do.
Yeah, so they've released 91 through 100, and like the big takeaway from that is Aaron Rodgers fell to number 92.
Okay. Well, I mean, he was hurt all last year, so
Yeah, which makes sense, but still, he
yeah. Yeah, it makes
even
me think, were they doing it back when Brady had the knee thing, and how far did he fall when he missed that year?
oh god, I don't know.
I mean, that'd be a good reference point. Of course, that was Brady was still very early-ish in his career compared to Rodgers at that very end here. So maybe that's not a great comparison. I'm just trying to think of, how do you do it? I mean, when I saw it at first, I thought, well, I don't know if you can even put him on the list because he like basically didn't even play. So uh, they're just
Yeah,
doing it as a
sure.
courtesy.
So, and we talked about in previous Goodell's comment about an 18 game season.
Yep.
And apparently, the NFL and the NFL Players Association have had high level talks about what an 18 game season would look like.
Okay.
But I'm looking, just glancing at it, it's like the current collective bargaining agreement expires in 2030. So you're probably looking after 2030.
Oh yeah, you gotta. If that's the case, it's a ways away. I gotta believe they would amend it to find a
Yeah.
way. Because here's what's going to happen. Let's just say we go, I don't know, 2, 3 years, and the salary cap stops going up as much as it is right now because they max out all their streaming service revenue and whatever else. that's when the players are going to start saying, okay, maybe we'll do 18 games so we can get another game check, and then they're getting more money that way. And um, so yeah, I guess I could see where it's still probably a few years out, even though they're starting to couch everything now, just plant that seed, so to speak, that hey, we want to get there. Let's just start talking and see if we can find a path.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably what it is. Like they're just starting to have those talks. So when it comes down to like the collective bargaining agreement expiring, when it's about to expire, they have the framework for an agreement to
Yeah.
institute an 18 game season. You might be right. We'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not like crazy about adding a game. I wasn't crazy about adding the 17th game. And I like football. I like watching football. I think it's such a good thing right now as it is. Like, try not to tweak it too much. And it seems like every year the league it's almost like scrambling to make changes to keep it exciting and relevant for the newer and younger fans. And it's like, I get all that. I totally get it. I'm actually really excited for the kickoff change because it looks like it's going to bring back kickoffs,
Hmm.
which I think that would be one of the first big changes in a long time that I'm probably pro for. But um, I just don't want to see them fuck it up and all of a sudden it not be as good as it used to be. It's like, the Thursday night football years back when they added that. That was cool. Then there's been talk about adding more days, and it's like, oh man, I don't know because, like I think it was like Mark Cuban talked about it when the NFL added Thursdays. He's like, they're diluting it and it's going to hurt them. And, it's like, well, if you add too many days, well, then yeah, I could see where it's like maybe not as special or something or whatever else. I think, guys like you and I, probably diehard, are still going to watch as much as we can, but you got other shit going on in life, right?
Hmm.
So, it's easy to say, hey, you don't fuck with me on Sunday because I'm watching football. But it's hard to say, hey, you don't fuck with me 5 days a week because I'm watching football.
Actually, this year, because of how the schedule falls out and how the holidays fall out, there's a game on every day of the week at one point
Yeah.
except for Tuesday. So
Yeah,
like
you
what
were
the fuck?
telling me that. Yeah.
Like so you'll have a Wednesday game, a Thursday game, a Friday game, a Saturday game, a Sunday game, and a Monday game.
And
Like
and it's I get it. There's some special occasions that they're doing that with. If they were starting to do it every week, it would be problematic.
yeah, and like they did kind of with COVID because you had the delayed games or whatever, so they
Yep.
moved it to Tuesday or they moved it to Wednesday because like the
Yeah, and that
team
was a
was riddled
unique,
with COVID. Right,
hopefully
but
never
then
coming back kind of scenario.
they didn't do it with the Broncos that one week where like their entire QB room got COVID, and
Yeah.
they're like
Yeah.
we're not what was it? They're not changing the game because the reason the entire QB room got COVID was because some guy didn't mask or some
Yeah.
shit like that,
It was
and
like,
it's like
fuck these guys. All right. Hey, a little harsh. Yeah,
yeah,
it did seem like there was some rule bending is some of that played out, unfortunately, you know?
yeah. So
All right, anything else on the news there, my man?
not much to release about it, but apparently Cam Akers signed with the Texans, so they added
Oh,
another running back.
keep them in the league.
But the big thing we missed was Shaq Barrett retired this week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we talked about that before the show. Ha.
Yeah, so apparently Shaq Barrett retired. Like I didn't see much about why he said he was retiring, or whatever, because he wasn't that old, right?
Um, I don't know. He was old enough, I think, that I wouldn't say it was like a super early retirement, but I'd have to look and confirm how many seasons he played.
Yeah, like I for some reason I don't remember him being.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he was only in the league for like 4 years or something.
So he was.
Let's
I
see,
guess
10
okay.
seasons, man, 10 seasons.
Yeah, 10 season. That's not bad. I was thinking it was. I forgot about like probably like the first like 5 seasons, the first half of his career.
Gotcha.
when he was in Denver. I remembered him with Tampa Bay, but I didn't remember him with Denver.
Yeah, I like
And
really only remember the Tampa Bay time. That's where he left the mark.
and to replace him, apparently the Dolphins have signed Emmanuel Ogba.
Ah, yes, Emmanuel Agba. Yes.
And they chose Ogba over Yannick Ngakoue.
Ngakwe still hanging out there. Okay. Yeah, I think Agba is maybe a little more rounded, and Ngakwe is like a pure quarterback rushing kind of guy. Doesn't really do a whole lot in the run game.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I just apparently they worked out both of them and chose Ogba over Ngakoue. But the key takeaway there is Yannick Ngakoue isn't going away anytime soon.
He'll latch on somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. He'll find somebody somewhere to
Yeah.
sign him.
He's just a rotational guy, he's got some good pass rushing juice, but he's very one dimensional. All right, well, you good to move on from the news?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like I'm sure there's stuff we missed, like all the holdouts, like people actually holding out.
I know, but
Um,
it was a super short week, man. We just did this, last Thursday or Friday or something? Last Thursday?
was it Thursday? Yeah, I think it was Thursday.
Yeah, I think Thursday last week.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows what we missed? Can't have missed much.
Yeah. Well, it's all good. Well, yeah, let's jump into some fantasy football action. Wow. So we were talking about this last week, and you weren't so sure that we were going to squeeze this one in, and then we kind of looked at the remaining weeks left, and it ended up kind of making sense on a short week to do our fantasy football top 10 rankings review. And so, um, basically, James, what I'm doing, and you can do it whatever way you want, but historically, we've always referenced the ADP top 10 by position on Yahoo. And
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of look at it. We say, hey, this guy's going here, this guy's going here, blah, 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 all this bullshit. I also like to reference, and I'm using, this year, I'm using fantasypros.com. I like their fantasy points per game that they do. And it's very easy to sort by position. And you can see, oh, hey, this person was, first in fantasy points per game. This guy was second. This guy was third, blah, 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 blah. And, it's not per the Yahoo scoring or whatever, but everybody's got like a different set of scoring and things like that. And so it's just kind of a nice way to be like, hey, here you go. Of course, I guess you could probably just do this in Yahoo, right? Maybe that's probably the better way to do it. Hang on. Because we're fucking, everything else is in Yahoo. We can just do the player rankings. So if I go to quarterback, I do all players, 2023 season total, and then sort it by fantasy points. So, it doesn't give it to me by game, but that's okay. Either way, we'll work it out. So, yeah, I like to kind of see how do they perform on a points per game basis, and then use that as my, hey, this guy's a little too high, this guy's a little too low. Oh, they added a wide receiver, or oh, their offensive line got shitty, or whatever the case may be. And then we can kind of say, hey, as you're preparing for your fantasy drafts, keep an eye out on this guy, might be a value. Watch out for that guy, might be, a little too hot to handle or whatever else, and all that kind of fun stuff, man. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
And so last week you threw me a curveball and you wanted to talk about kickers. Do you want to start there this week?
That's what I loaded up was kickers.
All right, give me the kickers, man. And I'm putting this all on you because we in the couple of years we've been doing the show have I don't think ever talked about kickers.
All right. Based on ADP, this is your top 10 kickers. And number one, you have Justin Tucker. Then you have Brandon Aubrey, Harrison Butker, Kaimi Fairbairn, Jake Elliott. 2, 3, 4. Jake Elliott's number 5. Jake Moody of San Francisco is number 6. Evan McPherson of Cincinnati is number 7. Jason Sanders of Miami is number 8. Chris Boswell of Pittsburgh is number 9. And Youngwei Koo of Atlanta is number 10. First and foremost, the first issue I have with this ADP list is when you get to number 12 with Michael Badgley, which isn't he not even the fucking kicker of the Lions anymore?
Number 12. All right, hang on a second. I must be looking at the. Oh, here we go. I got to sort it by all drafts, right? That's my
Yeah,
problem. Thank you. I just pulled it up regular, and I'm like, I don't even see Badgley on here, man.
yeah. So they have him at number 12, but that's an issue I have. Another issue I have with this. So Justin Tucker is perpetually the number one kicker. He's of the best kickers in the league.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. Brandon Aubrey, I don't understand at number 2 because I think Harrison
It's
because I
yeah,
think
it's the
Harrison
high-powered
Butker
offense
scores.
that Dallas showed last year, and Aubrey looked really good. I think Butker, was it last year or the year before? Butker did have some misses that had people kind of scratching their heads. But
Okay,
yeah, I
and
mean Butker's still totally legit and proven, very well
when I
proven.
when I go to last year's fantasy points, it makes complete sense
Okay.
because Brandon Aubrey scored the most fantasy points last year in our league
Yeah.
of kickers at 174. So
Yeah,
that's what
Fantasy Pros is saying 10.6 a game,
yeah,
based
then
on
that
how they do their scoring.
right. So and that was like 20 points more than Brandon Tucker or almost a full point.
Holy shit, they're saying Cairo Santos from Chicago was third.
Yeah,
Oh man. I mean
at 100.
I guess let's just put a pin in it for a second right there because that's why you take your kicker last
Mm-hmm.
because it is so unpredictable. Yeah, there are guys like Tucker that are like amazing compared to the rest, but it doesn't mean he's going to score more. And do you really want to take him fucking 8 rounds higher than a guy that has just as good of a chance of having just as many points?
Right, exactly. Um, so also at when you look at the list, like what I look at for kicker is I look for a team that's going to stall out and get more field goals and
Yeah,
the accuracy, which is why the accuracy in stalling out is why Badgley shouldn't be on this list because he's not accurate. He can't kick. He can't
yeah.
make those
And
40 to 50-yard field goals, or was it 43 to 55-yard field goals? Is like his dead zone.
yeah, and they
He can
showed they
make
don't
over
trust him
55.
last year in the playoffs, right? So,
He can
you
make
know.
under 40 and over 45 or whatever the range was. No, it was 30. It was 35 to 45 was his dead zone.
I think Badgley is where he's at because they're trying to say whoever ends up being Detroit's kicker should be somewhat fantasy fringe relevant if you need a kicker.
Yeah, and like but like the kickers, like I don't have much of an issue with the list. Like you have accurate kickers there in the top 10. They're mostly accurate kickers. Younghoe Koo probably at 10 is a little bit low for me,
Yeah, and that's
like
kind of what I was
accuracy
saying
wise.
last week. Yeah.
But I can understand it when you go down to the fact that he had a full 4 points per
Yeah, I mean the
full
one that I
like
would say
half
the one
point or point and a half per game, 2 points per game less than the top kicker. And he was 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. He was the 15th kicker in the league fantasy points wise. But you also have to look at what the offense in Atlanta. The offense in Atlanta is, and we'll get to that a little bit when we get to quarterbacks. The offense in Atlanta is one of the better setups for Cousins that he's had. So maybe that offense can put up more points, but maybe it's going to be more touchdowns
yeah.
than field goals.
Yeah, and that could be why they've got Younghoe Koo drop down where he's at because I would have expected him to be higher. Um, although I will say this, I'm looking at the Fantasy Pro stats. They're saying he finished 15th last year, which could be because it was such an anemic offense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one that did surprise me is Jake Moody, where he's at, was he at 2, 4, 6? He was the number 20th kicker on a points per game basis last year. So that seems a bit high of a jump. And San Francisco's offense was humming last year. It's like, so, are you really expecting him to have that substantial of a difference? I don't know, man. To me, that one seems a little bit overblown. I know he was one of the rare kickers to get drafted super early coming out of college, but still, that to me is not enough reason to do that. And by the way, the year before, I just pulled it up. The year before, Younghoe Koo was number 5 in points per
Hmm.
game. And so I think that that's one where scratch off what happened last year because Atlanta's offense was so messed up. Look a little bit before, and you can see the potential with Younghoe Koo.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, in 2022, he had what was it, 15 points more
Yeah, I
total
mean,
over the
shit,
season?
2020, he was the number 2 kicker fantasy wise. So, I mean, it just, I think that, I guess what we're saying is there's value there for him, right?
Yeah, there's value there. I mean, he's going a clear 5, 6 rounds after Justin Tucker's going,
Yeah, I mean
which
he's arguably the last kicker drafted in your league.
mhm.
Although some jackass will auto draft and end up with 2 kickers, and you'll get to make fun of them.
Remember that one year? Who was it? Somebody drafted 3 quarterbacks.
Oh, that was McComb. Yeah, and I ended up trading him for like Cutler or something, so it ended up working out for me. But
Yeah,
uh, but yeah, quarterback driven league. It's like fuck, man. You're never gonna need 3 quarterbacks, and if you have your top 2 get hurt, like oh my gosh, it just your season's over anyhow, man.
yeah. If I were to rank the kickers, and I would probably go Tucker as the clear best kicker in the league, probably the best fantasy kicker also. Harrison Bucker at number 2.
Yeah, you like the proven bunker.
Young Wei Koo at 3. Jake Elliott at 4. One that's not on that I don't remember naming, Greg Zerline at 5.
Greg the leg.
Um,
Although he only had 5 of 50 plus last year, but he did have 13 between 40 and 49, which looks like the top.
then Kanye Fairbairn, Brandon Aubrey, Evan McPherson, and Cameron Dicker.
Okay.
Is that 10? Yeah. No, that's 9. Probably Dustin Hopkins at 10.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wouldn't balk at that, man.
All right.
And by the way,
Anything else on?
Brandon McManus is hanging out there, free agent. Come on, somebody. As soon as your kicker goes down, McManus will get on a team somewhere. I'm surprised that he's a free agent right now.
Is he?
He had some weird thing happen. I don't remember what it was. What the hell was his deal? Oh, he was accused of sexual assault. Okay, so, maybe he won't be with the team. That's not good. So, yeah.
Okay, so maybe I should take him.
Cancel culture. I
I
mean,
didn't have.
if he sexually assaulted somebody, he should be canceled. I'm just,
Yeah.
it seems like there's a lot of them that you hear about later that are like, oh, he didn't actually do it, but, we
Yeah.
already canceled him.
You said McManus. I was like, did I have him? No, I had McPherson.
Hmm.
I got those confused.
It's cool. Cool, cool, cool.
All right. Anything else on the kickers?
No, that's all I got on kickers. I mean, do you want to do defenses, even though we're looking at a whole team and not like a single player?
We can run through defenses really quick.
I mean, it's another one we talked about last week. Defenses are very hard uh, to evaluate for fantasy football purposes. They change so much year in and year out.
They change so much year in and year out. You have the ones that are like always at the top of the list, and currently they are, and it's more name recognition than anything. So you have San Francisco, based on ADP, San Francisco number one,
Yep.
Baltimore number two, the Jets at three, Dallas at four, Cleveland at five, Kansas City at six, Miami at seven, Pittsburgh at eight, Buffalo at nine, Philadelphia at 10.
Yeah, and I mean it's tough. Like, looking at the points per game, San Francisco was 10th last year. So, I mean, right there, it's like case in point, these defenses are not reliable year in and year out.
So you can
I
throw
mean,
all that to the wind. I have a completely different order.
yeah,
I have the Browns, the Cowboys, 49ers at
Cleveland was legit.
49ers at three, Jets at four, Ravens at five, Steelers at six, surprise, Saints at seven, Dolphins at eight, surprise, Jaguars at nine, Chiefs at 10.
Yeah, the Chiefs have been, I think, better than people give them credit for. Last year, let's see, last year they were the number 12 defense, but let me just see where they were before that. Yeah, so the year before they were eighth. You know, you know, they've been, I think, overperforming for what people give them credit for. So,
They overperform, and I think also last year the Chiefs defense dealt with a lot of injuries.
yeah,
So I think that's why they were kind of down the list a little bit last year. But I think the Chiefs have a solid defense and put up points, and also it's special teams too. And I think with the new kickoff rules, I think I think there's a couple teams that benefit from that, and I think the Chiefs are one of the teams that will benefit with that, with the speed they have, with the rookie wide receiver, what's his face? Shit, who they?
Xavier Worthy,
Yeah, thank you. I was like, Sky Moore was last year.
teamwork.
Who was I couldn't remember, but yeah, Xavier Worthy, who's a burner, and he probably could run a few back. All right, that's all I have on defense. You want to go tight ends or quarterback? Let's save quarterbacks for last.
Yeah, I kind of thought we would do that. Um, I mean, I did want to just look at the defense thing real quick. While you were talking, man, I'm just trying to see. Could you expect Houston to jump up significantly this year? They were the number 15 defense last year, and they added Daniil Hunter. I gotta believe one more year with D'Amico Ryans coaching them, Will Anderson Jr. developing. I gotta believe they're going to be pushing top 10, my man.
You would say that. I actually
You would say
I actually have
that.
them
Well, thanks.
down or wrong at number 16.
Okay, so you think they're sliding back from where they
Yeah,
were
I think
last
they
year?
have this year they have a harder schedule than last
Okay,
year.
and they overperformed last year for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, they did have 46 sacks. Man, you would think they'll be 50 plus with the guys they've got now. 50 plus puts them in, you know, top top five for sacks at least.
It
But
does,
I guess we'll
but
see.
what I looked at with them is I think they're going to give up more points this year,
Okay.
which is gonna bring their scoring down a little bit. They could have 50 plus sacks, which is great, but it's not great if they're giving up 30 points a game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm good on defense then. So yeah, let's do tight end next.
All right, so at tight end,
Sam Laporta, baby. Woo!
it's a virtual tie at one for ADP. It's point 0.1 average draft pick difference between Travis Kelce at one and Sam Laporta at two. Then you have,
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of guys' rankings have Laporta on top.
yeah, my rankings have Laporta on top.
Yes, I mean,
Um,
obviously,
then at
he's just that much
then
better.
at 3 you have Mark Andrews, 4 Trey McBride, 5 George Kittle, 6 Dalton Kincaid, 7 Kyle Pitts, 8 Evan Ingram, 9 Jake Ferguson, and 10 David Njoku. First of all, why the hell
Yeah,
is
I mean, these
Njoku
guys,
in the fucking top 10? He has Deshaun Watson throwing him the
it,
ball, and he hasn't done
it's
shit.
I'll just tell you, it's because last year was a big year for him. He was the fifth tight end on a points per game basis. But historically, he has been a disappointment. I'm with you on that. All these guys are like in the top 15 of where they scored points last year. So I think you can make the case for them. It's just that it's like historically, you got to remember with tight ends, you get like the top three, maybe four that are like the legit guys, and then it's like a crapshoot from there. It's like nobody was drafting Njoku as the fifth tight end last year.
Sure.
Nobody was expecting that. And it's the same with Evan Ingram. Even though he had a good year the year before, people weren't expecting him to just repeat that because he had never really done it when he was with the Giants. And so, uh, tight end is another dicey one, which is another one of the reasons why you usually take them near the end. And so it's, like the old school rule of thumb was you go tight end, defense, kicker, right? Your last three picks. And you could switch that order if you wanted to, but it's because unless you want to go and get one of the early guys, like you go and get Kelsey, or this year I think it's Laporta, Kittle, whatever. You just wait. And in case in point is look at Mark Andrews. He finished 12th in points per game last year. That's a huge
Hmm.
drop. In fact, hang on a second. This isn't right. They're saying 12th in points per game. Here we go. No, he must have missed some time. That's why. So points per game, he was pretty good. He was ninth, but he only had 544
Yeah,
yards. So
he only played
oh yeah,
10
he only
games.
played 10 games. That's why. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, his stats were jacked up because he only played 10 games. So,
Yeah,
but
but but with tight end, that's why like if you get a guy that breaks out and has a huge year and like clearly becomes one of the
yeah.
top tight ends, like me, I think I drafted him in like the 14th, 15th round in our draft,
Oh yeah, he's a steal
and
for you.
I keep Laporta is average draft picks in the third round. There's no way in
Yep.
hell that I'm gonna be able to get Laporta as a 13th round pick to keep him.
No.
Then take roll the dice, and yeah, in our league somebody might let him drop, but you ultimately have that person that's auto drafting that gets to the third round. It's like, oh, he's the best one on the board ADP wise, so the computer's going to draft him.
Yeah. No, I think in a keeper league like what you're talking about, you got to steal with Laporta. Otherwise it's like you can make the case for like Kelsey and some of these top guys based on how you're going to build your roster. But it's like, don't reach for them because if it doesn't work out, you're going to be stuck in like the crapshoot of like the next eight tight ends where it's anybody's guess who's going to rise to the top. And, the one that kind of bums me out is Trey McBride because I know he came on hot last year as Kyler Murray came back and they showed a lot of chemistry together. But man, I was hoping he'd be sandbagged a little bit. Like, I feel like you're overbuying him at 53 with only like a half a season of chemistry with Kyler Murray. And I get it, they don't have a whole lot at wide receiver other than having just drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. But damn, man, it's just so early to be taking a tight end that's kind of really only got a half a season under his
Mm-hmm.
belt.
But when you go to my current rankings, and I haven't finished them. Like this is where I currently am. I have Laporta as number 1,
Yeah.
Kelsey as 2, Andrews at 3, McBride at 4, Ingram at 5, Kincaid at 6, Kittle at 7, Pitts at 8, Jake Ferguson at 9, and then Dallas Goedert at 10. And the reason why I don't have Hawkinson up there is because he's currently
Going to be on
on
pup.
pup. So
Yep.
Like I would have
So
Hawkinson at 11, depending on his status.
yeah, so Kittle is one that makes me nervous, right? Because we talked about how much weight he
Hmm.
lost. What was it? He had some off-season surgery or something and lost a ton of
Yeah,
fucking
he had
weight, man.
core surgery.
Yeah, and so I would be hesitant. And I saw him on NFL Network actually just this morning. He's still looking very
Hmm.
skinny. And I mean, we're a couple weeks away from playing games here. So, Kittle, I love him historically. The dude had 1,000 yards last year. He's a great receiving tight end, although he doesn't always get in the end zone. Um, I would just watch him this year. Do not overdraft him this year
Hmm.
because
Well, that's
he's coming in down on weight,
right,
man.
and but still, that's why like I dropped him. I flipped
No,
him and
I get it.
Kincaid.
I get it. Yeah, no, you got it right. I'm just reinforcing it for the general public, right? So, for the general public of three other people that are going to watch this episode, James, I'm helping them win their fantasy league. Unless they're playing in our league, then they don't have a shot in hell anyhow, right? Because we're the masters
Yes,
of this.
exactly.
That's why we're doing the critiquing. I'm just being stupid. I'm just being stupid. Yeah, I mean, other than that, the one I do think Cole Kmet, that's one where he's a value, but it's all going to depend on what happens with Caleb Williams,
Hmm.
right? Because he's got a lot of mouths to feed, but Kmet was the number 8 tight end and on points per game basis last year. And I mean, he has the potential. And I like Pat Fryermuth as well, but I think he was down a lot last year. Yeah,
He was.
Fryermuth, but their offense was just fucking garbage last year. Where was Fryermuth the year before? Let's see, in 2022, I guess he was down that year too. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just high on Fryermuth and I shouldn't be.
Maybe for some reason though, like it like rings a bell. Like you would think
Oh, he was the number 12 guy the year before. Okay.
you would think like he would be up there based on how many times you hear about him. I can't even find him on this fucking list for points last year.
Yeah, he was the number 12 guy 2 years in a row. And then, yeah, this year, man, because, well, I guess it depends on who wins that quarterback job, right? So Fields, he threw a decent amount to Cole Kmet, which is where he was the number 8 tight end. Go back to Russell Wilson's time, I would say mostly in Seattle, and they didn't have like lights out tight ends, but he was pretty good at making his tight ends
Yeah.
relevant.
So
So
so in our league, he was number 28.
yeah, I would keep an eye on Fryermuth, man, because he could be sneaky good, especially being undrafted
Yeah.
basically at
But
this
the
point.
thing with Fryermuth last year is he only played in 12 games, and that's probably why he was so low points wise in our league and why I wasn't finding him.
Yeah, I mean, I put him on the points per game, and it didn't even come out on the front page, man.
Yeah, so he had 12 games, 40 points or 41 points. So that's three,
Yeah, that's nothing, and it's because they had fucking Kenny Pickett and
yeah,
all the other garbage quarterback shit going on.
3 or 4 points a game.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Hawkinson, I get it. They got him down. That's fine. Dalton Schultz, blah, blah, blah. Brock Bowers, that's a tough one, right? Because he's a rookie. Um, you know, and it's going to depend on that offense. That quarterback situation's a little bit messed up, but I could see both those quarterbacks wanting to favor him second to Devontae Adams. It's just, is it going to be that potent of an offense where it makes him relevant right out the gate? I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
and that's where I go with Dalton Schultz. Like at 13, like I don't understand why people are really drafting him because from what I saw last year with Houston, CJ Stroud didn't rely on the tight end like most rookie quarterbacks
that's
do.
true. Yeah, now he's got Diggs, so he's got one more weapon. Um, man, The Pitts one is that one. That one bugs me because you would think if he's ever going to have a year where he lives up to his potential, this would be it,
Hmm.
right? But it also seems like 2, 4, 6, 7 is high just because he's never really done anything.
Well, he's never really, one thing, yes, he's never really done anything, but you got to look at last, when you look at last year, he played in 17 games. For some reason, I thought he missed time.
Dude, it just can, if it's ever going to happen, it's got to be now.
Right. So he played in 17 games in that train wreck offense that Atlanta had and still scored 85 fantasy
Yeah,
points. I think that's fairly good for for a tight end when you had all the shit going on in
no
Atlanta last year. You
quarterback.
had no
Yeah,
quarterback throwing you the
yeah.
ball. Um,
And Cousins, I mean, he made Hawkinson look fucking all world, right?
mhm.
So, you know, it could be the stars aligning for Pitts. I'd just be a little cautious because he's always underperformed.
Right. But I think he in fantasy points, I'm just
You're saying this is the
well,
time.
no, I think last year in that train wreck offense, he led receivers, call him a receiver for Atlanta in fantasy points.
Oh, I don't know. I thought Drake London had an all right year, but maybe I'm wrong.
So let's see. Okay, so Drake London did have in 12 games, or Drake London last year did have more. I couldn't find him. I forgot about Drake London, but I mean 20 points more.
Yeah, we're talking 6.6 points per game versus 5 points per
Yeah.
game. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, now amplify that with Cousins there and just say, could you fucking do 50% better than that? That would put him in borderline top five
Hmm.
area.
All right. Why don't you take us on to, if you're done with tight ends, unless you had more you
Yeah.
wanted to take us on to whichever one, if you want to do running backs or wide receivers first.
All right. Well, we'll just go to running backs next because that was just the closest one in the drop down as I flipped over. All right. And so for running backs, looking at the top 10 here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So we've got McCaffrey at 1, no brainer. Brees Hall at 2, Bijan Robinson at 3, Jonathan Taylor at 4, Saquon Barkley at 5, Jamar Gibbs at 6, Derrick Henry at 7, Kyron Williams at 8, Isaiah Pacheco at 9, Travis Etienne Jr. at 10. And so I, you know, just looking at it sort of at a glance, I think all these guys belong in the top 10. Okay. Um, the order, in here actually, let me bring up the fantasy points per game. Let me give you those top 10 just as a point of reference. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so you've got McCaffrey at 1, which everybody would have expected. Then you have Kyron Williams at 2. He was the number 2 points per game guy last year. Then you've got Mostert at 3, Devon Achane at 4, Montgomery at 5, Jonathan Taylor, James Conner, Etienne Jr., Saquon Barkley, and Derrick Henry. Okay, so you've got some surprise names in there that aren't even really like in this top 10 consideration. You know, Mostert, it's going to be about his health, right? Last year was he finished third in fantasy points per game because he had fucking like a million touchdowns. What do you have? He had 18 touchdowns. Highly unlikely to repeat that. He could be good again, but he's got a chain nipping at his heels for carries. So I think you can draft either of those guys. It just, do you want to take him in the top 10? It's dicey, and that's why they're not in this top 10. Um, Derrick Henry, I think, is one that you got to watch out for because he's going into that Baltimore offense where Lamar Jackson runs the ball. And I think back to when Mark Ingram was there, and I thought, oh my God, this is like a match made in heaven. They're finally going to feature Mark Ingram. And then they still ran a committee anyhow. And Lamar got all of his carries anyhow. So I'd be hesitant on Derrick Henry, even though I've always been a big proponent of him. Um, with Montgomery being in the top 5 of points per game last year, and then they got Gibbs on this list, I'm not like, I think Gibbs has more upside potential, especially with a year under his belt now. But I would just say don't discount Montgomery. He might not be top 10, but he still is going to get plenty of carries in that Lions offense. Barkley is another one I'm not thrilled with, but I'm not a big Saquon Barkley fan. You know that. And so I'm probably biased there, but he's going to a way better offense in Philadelphia, but he's also going to an offense that has a mobile quarterback. And so is that going to discount him some? I just, I don't know, man. And I do think historically Philadelphia has used the running back by committee, but because of how much they're paying him, I got to believe they're going to feature him. It's just how much is he going to get with Jalen Hurts also getting some kind of manufactured carries, right?
Yeah, I hear you there, but
And I know you think Brees Hall's too high, but I think he's
actually, no. I think Brees Hall is set up to be a bust, but I cannot argue with where he's listed in ADP. I think based on his
okay.
potential, that is right.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably put Kyron Williams a few spots up. I would drop Barkley a few spots down. I'd drop Derrick Henry a couple spots down, and then Jonathan Taylor, that one, man, he was so good 2 years ago, and then last year it's like really Zach Moss was the better back,
Hmm.
man. So that one bothers me. I might even drop him out of the top 10 to be honest, but that's just me. So, and then I think ETN at 10, he showed last year he can be a workhorse. And so he's a guy that I think, probably some people are going to see him in the top 10 and maybe be like, I don't know. I think you could draft him comfortably at 10. So I'm not worried about that.
So I had a little bit of a different order. I had the same when I actually sat down and ranked it. I had approximately the same list in my top 10. I just had a
Yeah.
different order. I if basically put from 1 through 4 right on. McCaffrey, Hall, Robinson, Taylor. Is that right? Yes. Then I had Jahmyr Gibbs, Kyron Williams, ETN, Pacheco, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And the reason why I discounted Saquon, you hit all the points, is everybody was lauding Swift. He had like the best year of his career last year, but
Oh,
he was
yeah.
still 17th overall fantasy points at running back. With Henry, I have concerns.
Yeah, with arguably the best offensive line in the league.
Exactly. With with Henry, I have concerns about his age and how he's going to fit into the Baltimore offense. You hit all those points. ETN, I think ETN, if used right, is the thing with ETN is he kind of bumps up a little bit because of the fact that he gets the ball, catches the ball out of the backfield. And if Trevor Lawrence stays
Yeah.
healthy, ETN can get a lot of those screen passes in the flank, use him more like um, this is going to sound weird, like how Urban Meyer talked about using him as
Oh,
as a
yeah.
wide receiver,
Receiving
as a
back.
receiving
Yeah.
back, because he has that talent. Um,
Yeah, and they should be better this year. Last year was kind of an unexpected drop off, especially in the second half of the
yeah,
season.
but also last year Trevor Lawrence had some injury issues.
Yeah, and the offensive line sucked real
Yes,
bad.
they did suck really bad. So I it Raheem Mostert or a chain, like, yeah, they both, like, I think a chain was like 22nd in total fantasy points,
Yeah,
um, at 178.7, and Mostert had 242.7, but they're basically equal yardage wise. Um, so it's kind of a committee. Just a chain had 800 yards rushing, Mostert had 1,000. The chain had more had almost equal receiving yards. It's just all those touchdowns that
yeah,
Mostert got. But they basically split time, and the better a chain gets, and the more a chain's in the league, the more they're going to use him. So Mostert concerns me immensely with how the outlook for this season because of that, because of a, a chain, whatever. A chain only played in 11 games and had very similar stats to Mostert, who played in
yeah. And
15.
so, and so the one here, James, that I do want to point out is James Conner. All right, so he's further down on the list, and he's a guy that last year was 11th in fantasy points. I'm sorry, hang on a second, not last year. Um, Last year he was in the top 10
Last year he
on fantasy points per
per
game.
game. Okay,
One, two,
okay,
three,
per game.
4, 5, 6, 7. He was seventh in points per game. The year before he was 11th. The year before he was 5th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so he's one of these no name guys, gets a couple games out with injury every year. But I think you should watch for him. He's going 61st. I mean, he's going way low for a guy that gives you borderline top 10 potential. And then you got even a few spots past him is where you got Raheem Mostert. I think both those guys, they have borderline top 10 upside depending on how the season plays out and maybe what happens with a few of these guys in the top 10 as well as what happens in their scenario. And so just, few guys to keep an eye
Can
out
you
for.
look up a player? How many points per game? Where was Najee Harris at points per game?
All right, so points per game, Najee Harris. Let's see, we're looking at 2023. Oh man, he is fucking way down. Let's see, this is one, two, three.
Is that far down?
27. That's low for a running back, right? 27 in points per game when there's, you know, hypothetically 32 starting running backs.
Yeah. So the thing
But
with
last year was a shit
last year was a
show.
shit show.
Their
Their offensive
offensive
line
line's going to
sucked.
be
He had
better. The offense in general is going to be
he had a
better.
thousand yards rushing behind that shitty offensive line and 8
Yeah.
touchdowns. I think he's one because you mentioned Mostert, and I think he's one that's going right ahead of Mostert. That is somebody to look out for because with the improved
Yeah.
offensive line there, and so what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get the running game going to get the passing game going, depending on who's playing quarterback. If it's Russ or either one, Russ or Justin Fields, like to get Russ to be able to have time, they're going to have to get the running game going. And I think if
Yep.
if if not if Pittsburgh does anything this year, especially like I mean they're perpetually 500 or better. Um, if to get that, Najee Harris is going to have a good year, and I think he
Yeah.
can have a good year with the improvements they made on the offensive line.
Yeah, and I think with Najee Harris, part of the part of the concern people probably have is that Jalen Warren has really become a fan favorite in Pittsburgh, and I think Tomlin likes him a lot, and so it does kind of cap Harris's ceiling a little bit because you know Jalen Warren's going to get a lot of touches too. But I do expect that offense overall to be. It's like the water's going to rise for all those
Mm-hmm.
guys. They should all be better this year. So, all right, man. That's all I got on running backs. You want to go wide receiver?
All right, let's do it.
All right, James. You've been doing good here, leading the way, man. I want you to do this.
All right. So based on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Man, that's a fucking crazy list. Holy shit, this is a crazy list. All right. I got it emotionally ready for this one. All right. ADP. Number 1, you have CeeDee Lamb. Number 2, you have Tyreek Hill. Number 3, you have Jamar Chase. Number 4, you have Justin Jefferson. Number 5, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 6, you have A.J. Brown. Number 7, you have Garrett Wilson. Number 8, Puka Nacua. Number 9, Marvin Harrison Jr. And number 10, Devontae Adams. Okay,
There's a lot of movement at wide receiver right now.
where to start with this list? Where do I start?
Yeah, can Justin Jefferson perform that well with Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy? I would be very nervous about taking him that high. I would be very nervous about taking him in the first round.
I
My opinion.
have, first of all, 1, 2, 3, spot on. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown at number 4.
Okay.
Then I have A.J. Brown at number 5. Then I have Justin Jefferson at number 6.
Okay.
Number 7, I have Puka Nacua. Number 8, I have Garrett Wilson. Number 9, I have Devontae Adams. And number 10, I have Chris Olave.
Yeah, so you're sliding Marvin Harrison Jr. out, making him prove it
I have
first.
Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 13.
Okay.
And that's it. That's 100% it. Make him prove it. He's a rookie. We've talked about it, how these past like 3-4 years, all these rookie wide receivers all of a sudden have a good fucking season. And 2 years in a row, the rookie receiving yards record was either broken or almost broken. And then you had Jefferson do it, then you had Jamar Chase do it, then you had was it Puka Nacua the rookie last year, or was it the other guy?
Yep, he was a
Puka
rookie last
Nacua
year.
had a freaking ridiculous season. I actually have
So there's a few, in my opinion, snubs, right? And I guess one of them, I don't know if I would say it's a snub yet, but I would just ask you. Last year, Nico Collins was 8th in points per game for wide receivers. Do you think Diggs is top 10 based on him potentially coming in and being better than Nico Collins and being the number 1 in that offense? Or is it going to dilute and they're both going to be good just outside of the top 10?
So my issue with Diggs is he's kind of been a head case as of late.
Yeah, he's a prima donna, man. Well, not a prima donna, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he's got that wide receiver syndrome where he gets way too full of himself.
Yeah, and I don't think. Yeah, Houston traded for him, but I think you're right. I think Diggs and Nacua, who both of them legitimately could be a number 1, wide receiver 1, are going to dilute each other, and they're going to take them down.
Okay.
So I had go back to my list real quick. I wanted to look up the points per game. So I had I'm sorry, I said Puka Nacua. I meant Nico Collins. I had Nico Collins at number 15 and Diggs at number 16.
Okay.
And the reason why I gave Collins the edge over Diggs is because of the simple fact that CJ Stroud already has the chemistry with Collins.
Okay. Hey, can you hear me
I can
okay?
hear you fine. I hear every once in a while I hear
All
some
right.
rustling, but
Yeah, because we've got a severe thunderstorm warning here. So if my internet goes out or you start hearing a lot in the background, like I've got mine on whatever you call them, like the pass-through mode,
mhm.
my AirPods, and it is loud as shit in my house with the way the the storm's coming in. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So the one I wanted to I have Harrison. I said at 13. Right above Harrison, I have Malik Neighbors.
All right, so you think Neighbors is going to come out and like really rip it up as
I
a
think
rookie?
Neighbors is going to have a better rookie year than Harrison Jr. I think Harrison Jr. is the better overall talent at wide receiver, but based on their offenses, and I have in a set, I have more trust in Daniel Jones than I do in Kyler Murray. Daniel Jones is
Hmm.
more of a pocket passer, where Kyler Murray is more of a scrambler, and I don't know if that QB scramble, the scramble drill, bodes well to Harrison's game set. I think he's going to have some catching up to do with that and what's
Sure.
doing that.
All right. Well, so I mean, these are different guys, but last year you had Brandon Ayuk and Mike Evans both in the top five or in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, historically, Mike Evans is a top 10 guy. He's slid out of there by, 5 spots this year. Um, Man, I don't know, dude. I would find a way to get him at least to 10. I would put him over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, I would on that list. I actually have
Yeah, I mean on your list it's different.
on
I'm saying at
on
least,
on my list, I have Mike Evans just outside the top 10 at number 11.
all right, yeah, I got no qualms with
And
that.
then
That's
the
that's
issue
good
I
with me.
have with Brendan Ayuk is I don't know where he's going to play. Is he
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant Debo Samuel.
Debo
Sorry,
Samuel?
Debo Samuel was he was the number 6 guy last year, and we've got him. I don't know what's he at 13 this year, 12 this year.
I think
So
that's about
I guess he's
about
pretty
about
close.
right
Yeah,
for
he's
him.
pretty close.
I have him at number 14.
Yeah, because all the guys ahead of him, I think you can make the argument the potential's there. And Ayuk is a little bit of a gadget guy at times, and so I'm good with that. Yeah. Now the one that fell down a lot is DJ Moore. So DJ Moore was in the top 10 last year, but you got to look at what that team did now. He went from basically a wide receiver one with Justin Fields to potentially being the wide receiver three with Caleb Williams, because Keenan Allen's going to be there, and Odunze is going to be there. Can DJ Moore beat either of those guys out? I don't know. I think it's going to depend a little bit on maybe the health of these guys, and what does Keenan Allen still have left in the tank, and then really how good is Caleb Williams going to be coming out of the gate? And so that one I'm fine. I might even drop it down further than where they got DJ Moore on ADP.
All right. I have DJ Moore ranked at number 31.
Oh yeah, so even farther
I
down the
have
list.
Keenan Allen ranked at number 34.
Okay. Where do you have Adunze?
Adunze,
Do you have him above or below those guys?
I have Adunze at 44.
Okay.
And it's just like Adunze, like
Make the rookie earn it, man.
make
Make
him
the
earn
rookie
it.
earn it.
Plus with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, I'm hard pressed to rank Adunze higher because
Yeah.
I don't know how that with and a rookie
Yeah, how does
QB.
he beat out those two seasoned
Yeah.
veterans,
And with
right?
the rookie QB, I'm having problems seeing without seeing preseason games, seeing how that's
Yeah.
going to do. Whoa, that was cool.
Yeah.
You just had a flash of lightning in the
Did you see?
background.
Oh yeah. No, I'm telling you, man, we got a severe thunderstorm warning going on. Uh,
But yeah, like I said, like I could, you could make the case any of those could be top 20, top 15. It's just I'm having problems seeing how that wide receiver room's gonna play out.
okay. Well, um, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just going back to the top 10 in points per game last year. Man, there's some good names just on the fringe, but yeah, I'm good with all that, man. I'm good with all that. All right, ready to move on to the QBs.
All right, we get
Hot shit. We're going to quarterbacks.
all right. I'm gonna have to do my list on the fly because I didn't. It looks like I didn't note it. Number two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9, 10. All right, so at number one in ADP, you have Josh Allen. Number two, you have Patrick Mahomes. Number three, you have Jalen Hurts. Four is Lamar Jackson. Five is CJ Stroud. Six is Anthony Richardson. Seven is Joe Burrow. Eight is Kyler Murray. Nine is Dak Prescott. 10 is Jordan Love.
Yeah, so I think the name of the game for half of the list is can you run the ball as a quarterback, right? Because that's going to get you fantasy points and give you a very safe floor. And, obviously Josh Allen can do it all. Jalen Hurts can do it all. Lamar can do it all. But then you go and you got Anthony Richardson in the top 10 going into year two. A lot of that's going to be based on the expectation of how well he can run the ball as a quarterback. Kyler Murray is in the top 10. A lot of that is based on how well he runs the ball as a quarterback. And so, and then even other guys on this list, Mahomes can move, Prescott can move, Jordan Love can move. Maybe it's not their featured attribute, but when you're looking at fantasy quarterbacks, that is going to, in general, raise those guys above the board higher than the pure pocket passers, right?
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. All right. Are you ready for my list? And I am ready to defend this list like no other. All right. Are you ready?
Sure.
Number one,
Yeah.
CJ Stroud.
Fuck yeah. I mean, he did lead the league in passing yards per game as a rookie.
Number two, Jared Goff.
Oh my God, I would fucking jizz my
Number
pants.
three, Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
Number
Okay.
four, Patrick Mahomes. Number five, Josh Allen. Number six, Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Number seven, Lamar. Number eight, Burrow. Number nine, Brock Purdy. Number 10, Tua Tagovailoa.
Fuck, man. That's a nice shakeup at the top 10, I'll tell you that.
All right. Let me know when you're ready for me to defend it, and let me find my notes.
You can defend it anytime, but before you do, how about I give you the top 10 in points per game last year,
All right.
just as a comparison? And I mean, this is a whole new year. So last year you had Josh Allen at one, Jalen Hurts, fucking, I mean, this probably doesn't even qualify because he only had 5 games, but Joe Flacco on a points per game basis was three. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, fuck, I love that for Joe Flacco. Jordan Love, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, and then CJ Stroud. So I think Flacco obviously was a huge surprise. If you scrub him out, the 11th was Justin Herbert, 12th was Patrick Mahomes. Um, Cousins only played 8 games. Kyler Murray only played 8 games. You can expect for sure, Kyler Murray, you can expect him to play the whole year unless he gets hurt. Cousins, you're more concerned with the injury because it's an Achilles and he's a little bit older. But still, making the case to be top 10 worthy. But man, I mean, Anthony Richardson was like 15, so, and Goff was 16. Tua was 20. Man, how was Tua at 20 last year? That was such a potent offense.
I do not understand that.
Maybe just a way that they scored it. But all right, yeah. So go ahead and defend, man. Go ahead and
All
defend.
right. So I took an overarching approach at what I was doing. I looked at who I thought had the best setup for them to be successful. And so first with CJ Stroud, I had that actually as my second best QB setup. But I think CJ Stroud has, let's call it it. They have Mixon, Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell.
Yeah, and Dalton Schultz,
And
too.
Dalton Schultz.
That's a lot of people to catch the ball.
A lot of people to catch the ball. They have on the offensive line, they have probably the top
Yeah, they
five.
still got Laramie Tunsil, right?
Laramie Tunsil and Shaq Mason, but they probably have a top 5 offensive line. CJ Stroud can get out of the pocket, and Stephon Diggs is used to a quarterback being out of the pocket, so I think he knows to scramble those. Nico Collins and CJ Stroud have that chemistry where if he gets out of the pocket, Nico Collins really knows what CJ Stroud's going to look at. I think last year, if CJ Stroud would not have gotten hurt, he would have been the MVP.
Yeah, that would have been freaking crazy. Crazy awesome, by the way.
All right, then I go to Goff. First of all, the Lions have arguably the best offensive line in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
You have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam Laporta to throw the ball to. That's just players that were on the team last year.
And maybe Jameson Williams finally pops out.
Finally.
But, you know, don't you think Goff has to have like a 40-plus touchdown season to get to 2 because he doesn't run the ball at all?
I would say,
and I'm not saying it's impossible for him to have a 40 touchdown season. I'm just saying that because of the lack of mobility, a quarterback like him needs to have like a kind of like a Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady kind of like monster touchdown season to elevate everything fantasy wise, right?
But is a 40 touchdown season that
no, it's not.
Jared Goff last year.
No,
I 8 in fantasy points, 6.
No, I don't, James. I'm saying I don't think that that's unobtainable at all. I'm just saying that, like, for our viewers, like, you know, that's what it's going to take for a guy like Goff to get there because he doesn't run the ball compared to a lot of these other guys. He's not going to have 700 rushing yards like Josh Allen might, right?
Yeah.
So
last year, Goff had the 4th most touchdown passes in the league at 30.
Yeah,
just behind Prescott. So you had Prescott at 36, Jordan Love at 32, Brock Purdy at 31, Jared Goff at 30. He also had 4,600 yards passing last year. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. What kind of killed his points a little bit is the interceptions, and he had
fumbles lost.
He had 4 fumbles lost.
Yeah.
Each year in this offense under Ben Johnson, Jared Goff's had slightly better year. Like so last year he had 342 points in our league. In the 2022 season, he had 29 touchdowns, 40. Oh, he actually had more fantasy points. He had 5 less interceptions, 1 less touchdown, comparable yards, and same number of fumbles lost.
He'd have more points per. Well, I don't know how that would work. Fantasy Pros is saying
He had
0.7 more points per game.
he had 344 points over the season in our league 2 years ago.
Sure.
Last year he had 342. But with Laporta having another year, if you look at Laporta's totals for last year, uh, 2023, Sam Laporta had 10 receiving touchdowns last year, and did he lead the league in tight end touchdowns? He did, by far led the league. He had almost double the amount of touchdowns. I think with another year under his belt, Laporta's just going to get better. And we just talked about how Laporta is just going to get better, and he's going to take that, possibly take that spot as the number 1 tight end in the league. As Laporta gets better, as you get the more weapons, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have the safety valve in Laporta. You have Laporta can just go up and catch the ball.
You're dropping it more to Gibbs in the backfield.
Gibbs in the backfield. You have the epitome of a balanced offense in this league. I mean, as closest thing as you can get to a balanced offense with Montgomery and Gibbs getting another year in them. You're probably going to use Gibbs more in the passing game. Like all these things are telling me that Jared Goff is going to have a monster fucking season.
Yeah. All right.
Richardson. I just really like Richardson. I've liked him. I liked him in the draft. I thought he was the best quarterback. Well, I thought he was better than the other 2 quarterbacks in his draft, Stroud and Bryce Young. I think he went into the right system, and actually everywhere I've seen his ranking, I've seen him as high as 3 and as low as 5. That's all. That's the range I've seen him in overall in expert rankings. I think they have. Again, this is a situation where you have a good setup for him, especially if what's his face? What's his name? Jonathan Taylor comes back to where the Jonathan Taylor you can, where you get the running game going. The drawback on Richardson, why I don't have him ranked ahead of Goff, is I don't know what to make of the other wide receivers, and I think Richardson could be number 2, could be the best quarterback this year, but I just want to see him play off that injury first. Mahomes at number 4. Mahomes is slowly dropping down my board because his fantasy points per game, if you look at it year by year by year on him, it's on the decline. Yeah. He's not doing as much. He's not getting, and the key is he's not getting the touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think some of that is, Tyreek Hill's gone. Mm-hmm. Kelsey's getting a little bit older. And maybe the only guy that's truly featured, so he's getting double, triple teamed, whatever. It's just making it harder for Mahomes, so they're having to go elsewhere, right?
Yeah. Then Josh Allen. The thing with Josh Allen that keeps Josh Allen in my top 5 is he's inevitably going to score he's going to get those 2-yard rushes, and they concern the fuck out of me. And it also downgrades their running back because he takes those short touchdowns away from the running back. Last year, he had the most fantasy points per game, or most fantasy points. I can't say.
Oh yeah, for sure, the most fantasy points per game. Yeah.
But when you look at rushing touchdowns, he had 15 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
He had 29 passing touchdowns, 15 rushing touchdowns. He's inevitably going to have that. the only reason why, and then Jalen Hurts at 6. Jalen Hurts had the same amount of rushing touchdowns as Josh Allen, but had less yardage because of the fact that Philly is again more Philly is more of a it's going to be more rushing yards from Jalen Hurts than passing yards, which kind of downgrades their wide receivers and also downgrades why I downgraded Saquon because Hurts is going to take those carries away.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson. The only issue I have with Lamar Jackson, and last year was a little bit better with looking to run out of the pocket, but he doesn't have. I don't think he has the accuracy. He doesn't have the arm that these other guys, that Hurts and Allen and Mahomes have.
He's very streaky as a
Mm-hmm.
passer. Like some games he looks like he can be an NFL quarterback, right? And then some games he looks like he's just a rushing quarterback and very one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. He doesn't have a lot of consistency as a passer.
And if you look at touchdowns, he doesn't really get the touchdowns. He only had 24 touchdowns,
Yep.
24 passing touchdowns last year. Sam Howell had 21 passing touchdowns. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter had both of them had 5 rushing. Heck, Josh Dobbs, who only played in 13 games, had more rushing touchdowns than Lamar. Burrow, I have to believe that Burrow is going to come back from the injury. If Burrow fully comes back from the injury and he doesn't have the hiccup at the beginning of the season, Burrow could easily be a top 5 fantasy QB.
Yep, and he's more of the pure pocket passer variety too, which means you can expect big yards, big touchdowns, but he's the kind of guy that can make it happen.
And he has the 3-headed monster wide receivers. Chase, Higgins, and who's the third guy there?
Yeah, but isn't Boyd gone? Or did they get one more year out of Tyler
I thought
Boyd?
they got one more year out of him.
No, he's Tennessee, man.
Depth charts.
He's with the Titans.
Okay. So you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins could be a number 1. So you have the two number 1s, plus you have
and Burrow's the kind of guy that he's going to elevate whoever's the 3 and whoever's playing tight end. He's going to elevate them.
Yeah, and I mean their tight end is Gesicki, and Sample, who have historically had good years. Gesicki when he was in Miami. Purdy at number 9, it makes sense to me when you look at Purdy's fantasy points last year. 2, 3, 4, 5. He was 6th in fantasy points last year. He had just ahead of Goff. Goff, who was 7th in fantasy points last year, surprisingly, with that number of interceptions that we had discussed, 12 interceptions. He had 1 more touchdown, 1 less interception. And 300 less yards than Goff. Everything else statistically is about the same until you get to the forced fumbles. But Purdy is going to be consistent. He also has probably the 3rd or 4th best setup for QB there, especially if Ayuk is back, because then you have Samuel Ayuk, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey to pass the ball to. Plus, he has Trent Williams anchoring the offensive line, and Shanahan just gets the most he can out of any fucking quarterback. You could be the quarterback for San Francisco and put up the numbers that Purdy did. Not
put me in, coach.
Literally, but close to it. Tunga Viola, but Tua. I was really surprised that Tua was not in the top 10 ADP. He was 12th, especially seeing as though you have 1 more year with Tyreek Hill. He had
and Jalen
Waddle 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. He was 11th.
It's because they ran the ball a lot last year, right? So the passing stuff was a lot of flashy big freaking Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle just like burning people. But man, they did so much on offense through the ground that I
But
think that
Tua still
it,
had 4,600 yards passing last year, 29
yeah,
touchdowns,
how many touchdowns?
29.
Yeah, see, yeah, it blows me away that he was. I like I said, I thought he would have been higher on a points per game
Yeah.
basis.
What killed him was he had 14 interceptions and 5 fumbles lost.
Okay,
That's where
and how many rushing yards did
he
he have?
didn't have much. He only Jared Goff had more rushing
That
yards than him.
no, then
Not literally.
that's part of it. That's part of it with Tua is that no, that makes sense. That makes sense now.
He only had 74 rushing yards last year. Um, but if you go to the 2022 season, he played in 13 games and had just as many rushing yards. He didn't he had he played
Yeah,
in 13 games in 2022, 3,500 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 1 fumble loss, 70 rushing yards. Like he's not they're not but that's with the offense of Miami, they're not relying on Tua to run the ball, and which is
no, and that
fine.
and that's why it makes more sense to me fantasy wise that he's lower than I expected is because so many of these guys run the ball.
And I I understand that point, but like points wise, like Jared Goff, who had 73 rushing yards 2 years ago, and I think last year he had 20, and he was still top 10 in points. He had 21. I'm sorry. He was still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh in fantasy points
I
last year.
got you, man. I got
Probably
you.
lower on points per game because of these random people that only played in like 7, 8
Yeah,
games.
guys that get hurt. Yeah.
And I'm I'm putting Tua in the top 10, slowly getting back on the um, Tua bandwagon. I saw a lot last year that impressed me, and he stayed healthy for the entire season, which
Yeah.
helped his because 2 years ago I was wondering if he was going to play in the NFL after last year or after that
For
year.
sure. It looked real bad out of the gate,
Yeah,
man. Real bad. But no, he's he's developed into what I think everybody thought he could be, and now it's a matter of can he, take it beyond that and become like a playoff caliber kind of
right.
quarterback, right?
And the difference between Tua and these other players that can run the ball is these other quarterbacks that can run the ball, when they scramble, they're looking to run. When Tua scrambles, he's still looking downfield, looking to find that open receiver.
For sure, for
And
sure.
that's
Yeah,
and that's I think that makes him a better quarterback, maybe not a better fantasy points quarterback, but a better
yeah.
quarterback than
Good
these
distinction. Good
other guys.
distinction. Yes. No, and that's where it's tricky when you're looking at fantasy, is that you got to keep in mind, um, some of the best quarterbacks are the ones that don't run,
Yeah,
but they're not the best fantasy
right. And the
quarterbacks.
three that I threw out of the top 10: Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love. I need them. I need Jordan Love to show me he can do it again. I need Kyler Murray to grow the fuck up, and I just don't believe in Dak Prescott.
I got you, man. I think Dak could be a little bit of a wild horse this year, or a dark horse this year, where he's in a contract year. Him and Mike McCarthy are both on the fucking hot seat. It's almost like, um, man, they could like really light it up in both end up showing that they belong and get their contracts and whatever else. But it's just as equal in my mind. They could both fucking implode. And basically, Dallas could go through a mini rebuild, getting rid of the coach and the quarterback.
And you can
So,
mark the tape here. Dak Prescott will not play 15 games this year.
okay. I mean, I'm not going to mark the tape, but
Mark the tape. Um,
mark the tape. I'm not. You mark the tape. I'm not. I'm not taking the time. So, um, all right. I'm good with all that, man. I'm good with all that. When you're ready, let me know. We can go to question of
Oh,
the week.
I'm good to go to question of the week.
So this is it. It's kind of like being formed here on the fly. I'm not like really lighting the world on fire with the question. So, but in past years, James, from a fantasy football standpoint, we have seen a tight end slip into the top 10 in a lot of years, whether it's Travis Kelce or going before him, Rob Gronkowski. You almost always get one tight end sneaks their way in. And in past years, you could almost always count on at least one or two tight ends scoring at least 12 plus fantasy points per game. Last year is the first year since 2019 that no tight end had more than 10 points per game. Do you think, whether it's Laporta or Kelsey, or maybe you like somebody else, one of these guys should be in the top 10 for fantasy in terms of the ADP?
No.
So are you saying that as I don't think a tight end belongs there, period, and what happened in the past is bullshit? Or are you saying that this is just a different year and we're not going to get a 12 point per game tight end? That's why we shouldn't draft one in the top 10.
We are going to get at least one, if not two, 12 points per game tight
So
ends
then
this
isn't
year.
that a disservice to Laporta if you think he's going to be one of those guys?
Do I think average draft pick wise in fantasy going into the season that somebody will slide into the top 10? No, I don't. Because of the fact that I,
I mean, they're so far away from the top 10 compared to what we've normally seen with tight ends.
yeah,
And you and I have always talked about it, that it always kind of blew my mind that a tight end would get there. There were some rare years where I just said, fuck it, I'm taking Gronk because of the man crush, and I'm picking at the end of the first round or whatever. But some of that was more radical team building strategy. I don't like necessarily subscribe it for other people,
yeah.
right?
So the thing of it is their overall ranking on Yahoo and their average draft pick is too far away from the top 10 for them to slide up there because inevitably you're going to have people that are auto picking and you're going to get
Yeah.
your if their rankings are sliding up there, their average draft pick is starting to slide up close to there, then they're going to inevitably some of these guys behind them are going to go and some of these guys in front of them are going to go and it's just going to kind of fall out where some stupid auto draft is going to pick them in the top 10.
So with Laporta and Kelsey both going in the third, do you think that that's appropriate then, or is that too low, given that we've almost always had one tight end sneak into the top 10?
I think it's actually too high, and it might be. We're kind of seeing a shift where a lot of these a lot of these running backs are drifting down the board, and wide receivers are going up. So
Yep.
but the wide receiver is like you're looking at when you get to the third round, you're still looking at number one receivers.
Yeah, that's true. You're kind of looking at the bottom of the number ones.
And besides Kelsey, even Laporta, who's going to put up a lot of points, Laporta is still, in theory, at at the highest, the number two receiver on the line.
But isn't some of it relative to the position where you're saying, okay, at this point in fantasy, if I think he can get 12 points per game, I can get him here, or I can wait and get a tight end that's only going to get me maybe 7 or 6. and it's worth that much more. Whereas I could get a wide receiver that's maybe going to get 13 or 14 points, but I could also wait 2, 3 rounds and maybe get a receiver that's going to get me like 11 points. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I'm saying from my philosophy, he's too high.
Yeah.
It's third round is a little bit too early to be taking tight end. Even when it's top, I look like honestly, my philosophy, if I came to like my fourth round pick or fifth round pick, so it's really splitting hairs, and somebody like Kelsey or one of these top tight ends is still there, then I would seriously look and consider taking them.
Dude, all I'm saying is I'm a tight end kind of traditionalist where, from a fantasy standpoint, I think you should wait on that position unless you have maybe a more aggressive team building strategy. Then you could go up and get a guy. But as a Lions fan and as a huge believer of Sam Laporta, I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like he's getting shafted because every year one of these motherfucking tight ends slides into the top 10. This should have been the year that Laporta got the nod. It should have been one of these things where it's just like, yeah, it's happening. Just fucking deal with it. Kelsey was like ranked 7th in ADP last year. Come on, man.
No,
I
no,
just,
and I hear what you're saying. I'm struggling, even though as a Lions fan, yes, I agree with you,
yeah,
but I'm struggling with how that is so counter to my philosophy, and
yeah.
how it's so counter to my philosophy. And like I said, like fourth round, if Kelsey, like say it's just an open draft. If I get to the fourth round and Kelsey and Laporta are there, I'm going to seriously think hard about drafting them.
Yeah.
Before the fourth round, I might not, because I can get
Yeah, you have bigger
in
priorities.
the
Yeah.
third round, I can get a running back that's going to give me 17 points a game, 16 points a game. Or I could get that receiver that's going to give me 16, 17 points a game. Where the tight end, it's really like you're only going to have the one. So if you don't have one of the top two guys, then,
Yeah, or if he gets
or if he
hurt,
gets hurt,
it's
like,
it's a luxury pick that carries some
yeah,
risk.
exactly. So I just have an issue mentally taking them so high to justify it. Justify it. From my philosophy, I think if I think that's about right. While I answer this, I'm gonna I want to take a look overall points wise after you take out the quarter.
Oh, I mean they're low compared to historical figures because, like I was saying, we didn't have a guy go over 10 points per game at tight end last year. In most years you get a tight end that's 12 plus points per game. That's a big difference. You're talking a 30 something percent increase or decrease in this case.
Right. So, but I'm taking out all the quarterbacks. One,
Yeah.
two.
What I was saying is I'm looking at his relative value. Whereas if you have more wide receivers to pick from and their value goes down, in a more smooth fashion, whereas tight ends you have less to pick from and you only have like really, maybe in any given year 3 or 4 that are really worth a damn, and then it kind of falls off a little cliff. It's almost like the relative value of that tight end can be higher, and I can see where you could make the case to go after one sooner. But it all depends on your team building strategy.
Like I can you can make, and I understand what you're saying. It's such a mental block saying a tight end should go in the third round.
Yeah.
It's just such a mental block. Do I think, and let's
So you disagree that somebody was there in the first round every year, anyhow?
right.
Yeah.
I disagree that yes, somebody was picked in the first round. Were they a first round pick? No. Um, in our league, do I see a tight end going in the first round.
Well, keeper leagues, it's a little different, right? Because tight ends can be pushed up because of the keeper factor.
Right, but I could, but it couldn't be the
It would be Kelsey if you're keeping Laporta.
right. I could see Kelsey, somebody in our league picking Kelsey in the first round. Yes. If Laporta was available, I could see somebody definitely in our league picking Laporta.
Well, yeah, because we're a bunch of Lions fans, so yeah.
I think ultimately the average draft pick once draft goes through, you might be pushing second round for tight ends for ADP.
Sure.
First round, I think, is a stretch.
Okay.
It's just they're too far down to.
Yeah. No, I agree.
The
I
law
agree.
of averages will prevent it.
I was just trying to give Laporta some love. That's all.
No, I get it. I get it. It's such a mental block to take a tight end that early for me.
Well, James, my man, that's all I got. You got any closing questions, comments, concerns, jokes that you want to share? Anything like that?
I'm sure I do. I wanna find our fucking league's draft from last year, and how the fuck do I?
Sure.
How the fuck do I find that? Because I want to see where.
So let me see if I can open mine back up because I could. Oh, come on, open up. Because I could walk you through it, but I got to see it to know what I'm doing here. Oh, come on, my browser's being slow as shit now.
My team. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you definitely you got to go to your team, and then you click on your profile. Oh, yeah. So like you see where your name. Oh, why is it not doing that? Click on your name, and then go to history. Pick the league from last year. And then go to draft results.
I'm just curious where I get to keep Laporta at. Ooh, I was right. I picked him in the 15th round.
So you get to keep him at 13, and good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, good for me. I was high on Laporta going.
Unless I put it in wrong. Whoops! Oh no!
I was really high on Laporta going into the year, and I didn't think he would have the year he did. Yeah. But you go to like Hawkinson. Hawkinson had a lot of good years with the Lions.
Never lived up to the top.
Never 10. Lived up to the top 10.
You know, but we did that to him. It wasn't his fault that we drafted him top 10.
In fact, 2 spots before that, who's this team that picked Jameson Williams? Sorry.
You picked Jameson?
You picked Jameson Williams 2 spots before Laporta.
Oh, in the 15th round?
Could have had Laporta.
Oh. Thanks, James. Thanks.
No, you already had picked your tight end though.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not worried. I ain't scared.
Gosh, you put your tight end early.
Yeah, I think well, I told you earlier, I'm one of those crazy guys. I used to take Gronk in the first round, you know? I was like, man crush, I'll figure out the team around him. I don't care.
Who the fuck was your tight end last year?
I don't even remember.
It looks like you drafted 2 defenses last year.
I'm not surprised about that. I do weird stuff every now and then, James.
5th round, George Kittle.
Not bad for Kittle.
No, not bad for Kittle, but
I think if you're going to take a tight end early, that's like the sweet spot. If you can get a guy like Kittle in the 5th.
Yeah, it looks like he was the fourth tight end to go off the board. Wow. Oh, yep. There he is. Travis Kelce, number 7.
Yeah, right on with the old ADP.
Yeah. All right. So I was just curious where I picked Laporta.
Hey, it's a sweet fucking spot, my man. All right. Well, hey, for anybody who's watching, we hope you liked the show. If you didn't, suck it anyhow. We don't care. You're not even watching. Nothing matters. So, James, like always, it was fun, man. I'll catch you later.
All right, sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.